Rosenberg in here trying to have small talk with the editor of XXL, Vanessa. Vanessa, how do you say your last name? Is it Satin?
Satin.
Satin, just satin.
Like the fabric.
Just like the fabric.
Spelled differently.
Speak up into the microphone so we can get
Just
this
like
beef
the
popping.
fabric, spelled differently.
Yeah, we're going to get some beef popping.
Why are we fighting?
First and foremost, I would like to salute you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
And your publication and brand, XXL, for always being a great partner of Hot 97.
Thank you,
including us in all of the festivities surrounding the Freshmen Ten.
And Big Summer Jam coming up.
And Big Summer Jam. You guys always do a phenomenal job on the program. But this year, there's some friction between our camps.
Okay.
Didn't know that.
Rosenberg has a problem. And he addressed it with August Alsina yesterday.
Yes, I forgot. I'm very angry about this.
R&B is on the XXL freshman list.
It is.
And I've got beef. So no, why the decision to put on someone who's an out and out R&B singer? He's not a Mac Wilds, he's not Drake. He is a straight R&B singer.
I think that you see more and more people rapping in more and more people singing in hip hop, more rappers, and the lines, for us get more blurry of how to cover everything, even just on a daily news capacity, because in hip hop, people don't really have the same kind of strict lines and kind of rules that we have at the magazine, or just, in general in publication when you're covering something. So with more and more rappers singing, it just seemed, and singers rapping, it just seemed like there is kind of a gray area, and it's our responsibility as hip hop on a higher level to cover what's going on within the culture.
Were there people within XXL who were staunchly against this?
There were, well, definitely, but I think there were more staunchly for it. I mean, everybody was for it.
Now, Vanessa, you have a young man with you. What's your name, sir?
Manny.
Manny, and you're representing XXL. What do you do there?
I'm the news guy there, along with Miranda Johnson.
Okay, and what was your opinion on this August Alsina inclusion?
I was with it. Initially, it was like, but then it made sense, because since we are hip-hop on a higher level, that's our thing, we have to show the growth of hip-hop. So taking August Alsina, he made sense. He made sense.
And as long as we went 12, we didn't take a spot away from one of the 10. I
mean, look, for me, it's easy. Singing has always been a part of hip-hop. It's not just MCing. R&B, without R&B, and the records that came before, they were sampled and were made into hip-hop records. Those were R&B records. So I don't have a problem with it. But these hip-hop purists out here think it's all about bars. If you ain't got bars.
Well, that's only if you believe that's what the standard was supposed to be, right? So that's why I used to get mad at MTV's MC list. They called it hottest MCs.
True, and me and Future had issues about that, because I was like, fam, you're not.
Well,
I can't co-sign that.
I didn't understand. Now I generally agree with what you guys are doing. I have some. What you keep saying about there's no hip hop without R&B is semi-misleading, only in that the kind of R&B that August is and a lot of other things is more derivative from hip hop than anything else.
Definitely, but I think the argument in the staff more was that culturally, where he comes from and where some of the rappers on the cover come from are a similar place. They have similar backgrounds that he feels like, the way he pitched it, that he could identify with, and at the same time, he'll collaborate with a lot of those guys.
No,
so
I
cross
agree.
Our paths a lot.
Do you?
I mean, Ty Dolla $ign fits in there kind of also. Yeah. It's not the same singing, because I hear what you're saying. August could almost be a little bit more church-like at times.
No, Ty Dolla $ign.
And go that way. Ty's that real hip hop.
The only argument I have with Ty Dolla $ign is that physically he doesn't look like a freshman. He looks like a fifth-year senior. How old is Ty Dolla $ign?
I'm not sure.
He's like mid-20s, right?
I don't know.
It is a mix, but it's a mixed bag. I mean, you have a guy like John Connor. How do you explain a guy like John Connor who gets on the freshman cover, well-deserving, phenomenal MC. I love that kid. Very happy for him. He had a big year in that he signed with Aftermath. But a lot of people would argue, how could he be a freshman? This guy's been putting out music for, I don't know, 5 years? Maybe?
No matter what, we keep I mean, listen, you can have a Section 80, you can't have a good kid, Mad City. That's the way we look at it.
That's a very good way of putting it. Well said.
That's been my pitch over and over again. It's the best way to explain it. It took Macklemore to have the heist to come out and blow up, even if he was doing his thing before. So I think us in hip hop a lot of times are very on what's going on, but the general hip hop fan doesn't know everybody. Especially in New York, we're really on what's going on. So I think that.
Now, how many Section 80s can you have, though? Like, for example, Ab Soul's going to drop his album soon. Mm-hmm. It'll be another TDE independent album, not an Interscope TDE album, another TDE album. Has Solo already been on?
Yeah, last year.
Solo was on last year. So if he wasn't on last
No,
year?
let's take Jaron Benton for an example. He's had a lot of different indie projects with Funk Volume.
Who?
At what point?
Yeah, I don't
did
know.
you
I don't even know who he is.
Who?
Except for the fact that I can't tell you how many votes he got for a People's Champ, and we make it so you can't fix that.
Did you
thing.
guys truthfully know who he was before that?
I knew Benton was for a few years now because I really
Who
like
the
the
fuck
Schizo
are you
record.
guys talking about?
Jaron, what is it?
Jaron Benton.
And
Cat
where's?
from
Funk Volume.
Atlanta.
It's a Funk Volume with Hobson's crew.
Oh, I know
Yeah.
Hobson.
Yeah,
he
it's
made those
Hobson's
videos.
crew.
He could rap. That
Yeah.
dude. He's
Comes
good.
down
Benton
the
can
same
rap
line.
too, definitely. You know,
Okay.
and it was interesting because Dizzy Wright's in their camp. Dizzy won People's
I know
Champ
that guy. I
by
know
far
that
last
name.
year. Jaron won by far this year.
And are these same fans who are voting for them? Are they buying a lot of tickets for them too?
I'm not sure. I mean,
You just know that they're very active online and they're making a case for them.
No,
Very
Jaron
strong.
Benton's on the Tech Nine tours, so he definitely
so
got a
he's-
show thing
yeah,
going
Tech Nine's
on.
moving
and when
on it.
you've got that audience looking at you, you definitely are exposed to a lot more. Those fan bases are very social. They have real fans in Middle America, around the country. Maybe not as coastal as we're used to, but the Funk Volume and the Strange Music fans are something else.
No, they're a big deal. Vanessa, and what's your name again? I'm sorry. Manny. Walk us through, and we just want to listen. What is the process of picking a freshman? Is there specific criteria? Is there a deadline where you got, because I'm sure there's people who are like, yo, I want to do that. Like, where do I start? What do I got to look out for? Are there deadlines? Is there submissions? Like, how's this work?
We start September, October, start talking about it, watching what's going on, trying to look at the forecast of who's going to put stuff out around the holiday time, because you start to know when people fall back in the industry, it shuts down a bit. So we look at who's trying to end the year with a bang, who's going to start doing something in January, what the rollout are for people. They know freshmen's coming. We talk to everybody. We talk to you guys. We talk to our friends. We talk to absolutely everybody. Yeah. We really do our research. We watch YouTube videos like crazy. We go to performances, every performance we can. I mean, my one big recommendation is that if you want to be a freshman, you should get a show going on in December, January, February.
Just one or a tour?
At least one in New York so we could see you if you're not, if we might make it to LA and you might have a show going on. We might be in Atlanta, you might have a show going on. But if you're a new guy not performing so much, if you could hook something up in New York, around that time, that the whole staff can get to something like that, that's always a benefit.
What if I can't get to New York and I have a fan base in, I don't know,
we're following
Lincoln, Nebraska, and I
We're
can do a
following
show?
it.
Can I live stream it and you guys maybe check us out or something?
I mean, definitely. Whatever you do to get attention, we're fans, so we're paying attention the same way your fan is going to if we can connect to you, So all that's an option. A good example, Vic Mensa came up, familiar with him, but not as familiar maybe as we should have been at the time. We stayed late on a Friday night. We're all sitting there. We want to go home, but that's the only time he could come. He came by and he really impressed all of us. What he had going on music-wise, the way he presented himself, his team, what was coming up, even though he was an independent artist and doesn't have a big backing right now, or really any backing right now. That's fine. That he doesn't have to be a John Connor with that backing.
Well, that's a really interesting thing. Would you rather be
me personally?
Both of you. I'm asking you both this question. Good hip hop question right here.
Talk about it.
Would you rather be John Connor, signed with Aftermath with the potential upside that exists there, or would you rather be Chance the Rapper, who has the huge buzz on his own, but now has decided to not go with the label for a long time and is starting to get to that territory where you can't go back? Like, it's just not going to have the same meaning if you sign at that point. Which situation do you think is more ideal for an up-and-coming artist with a buzz?
I think the Chance the Rapper situation is uncharacteristic right now, is untraditional, and that catches people's attention. I also think he is the bigger artist right now, so I guess I'd rather be in his place. I think any support from Dr. Dre is always great, but you also have to do it yourself, and we've seen more from Chance than we've seen from Connor so far to know a little bit about what position we'd want to be in. But the Interscope machine there's nothing like the Interscope machine, definitely.
But you have to deliver. You have to come with
a
that product.
Major label situation can also be crippling because some artists think that they don't have to now work because they have a machine. Mm-hmm. And the machine only starts up when you're working. And it's not the 90s anymore where these labels have a lot of money to throw around and they'll put you out on tour and they'll do your merch and they'll rent a van for you and they'll do XYZ. Those days are gone.
Right.
These major labels, the ignition only turns if you're out working yourself.
And if you're
so even someone
money,
like a John Connor, he's still going to have to work because we've seen Aftermath sign and drop a lot of people who were very talented but I'm told weren't willing to do the work that it takes to get the machine going.
Yeah.
Not to mention, there's big question marks now just about what Dre's situation is.
Well, Dre's not. Come on, he sells headphones. He doesn't even sell headphones. Dre just sits in an office and is like, I like that, I like this, I like that, I like that.
No, I think he's in the studio.
He's in the gym.
Yeah, he's just
in the studio, though.
Shout to Fuzzy.
I think he's in the studio though. I think he gets inspired by by the new kids coming up. I think that I've talked to Dre before about how do you stay going. I think he's interested in that. We're still interested in him, but definitely I think Dre's in the studio. Dre was definitely passionate about what John Connor was doing and cared about him. We'll get things from calls from certain execs to we won't hear anything from anyone, and they never never called us, never told us what was going on, never stopped by, never nothing, and want to know why they're not freshmen. And we need to also know what you've got going on. Sometimes your buzz is so big you're there.
So
it's undeniable. Sometimes we need to know, because you could have a problem where you're on a crew and it's backing up how many people are on that crew and who are they going to put out next, because you got to bring the star back around, you know? And the major label wants the hypothetical Nicki Minaj album, but the new artist or something like that's not going to happen because the major's going to want another big hit.
So there is some, you have to know how to network. You have to know how to get your attention.
It's not a make or break you, but it definitely helps.
But you got to get your attention.
Yeah.
And then you have to also, I heard you say pitch. There's a part of the pitch is, what material do you have musically? What shows do you have? What social media do you have?
Chance the Rapper doesn't have to pitch. We know he should be a freshman. But for the most part, the guys who don't have the major, but Rich Homie Quan doesn't have to pitch the same way.
Right, because he's had some hit records.
Because he's got some hit records, and people are really feeling him. So some of the ones that are a bit more obvious, and then the ones, and then from there you're filling a list of 10. But I guess
what I'm saying, Vanessa, is people have to get your fucking attention. And there's a lot of artists who think just because they got bars, people are going to go find them.
Totally. But not only do they have to get our attention, they have to get hip-hop's attention. Because we're following the barometer of what's going on there. So if we see that everybody likes this certain person, we have to see what the heat is over there. Not just come to us the same. We have to go to it. So the biggest thing really, as corny as it might sound, is your fans. Get your fans' attention, build up your fans, and we're going to have to notice.
Because they're going to make noise.
They're going to make noise.
Now, I was told this year that Young Thug turned you guys down.
Young Thug agreed to do it, and the night before, around 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, we got a call from I think it was a Cash Money representative. I'm not totally sure, because I'd never met him before, and said he couldn't come.
So and then that's why he's not involved.
I guess so.
So someone else, you don't have to say who, got a last-minute call being like, good news, you're in?
No, pretty much we were set up, that he just decided not to come.
But don't you have, isn't it 10?
We were extra this year.
Oh, so you had an extra.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, in all fairness, I did hear there was a legitimate reason for him not coming.
If there was, I wish him the best of luck.
There was a sale at BB. He was getting a skirt.
He was at H&M getting some new...
H&M had a skirt sale. No, Young Thug's,
he hadn't got his nails done yet, is what I'm saying.
Young Thug's tight, but I don't know why he'd skip that. People make that mistake, man. Everyone trying to be like, I don't need that cover.
Well, they called the next day and wanted to set something
Rosenberg,
up.
That's not how it works. I gotta stop you guys. I gotta stop you guys. Young Thug, I've heard 2 songs that are entertaining. The Danny Glover record comes off in the club, right? And so that was the way, when I heard it myself, I was like, okay, whatever. And then I saw people respond to it, it made me like it a little bit more. Stoner's cute, the hook's cool and all that, and I didn't really like that until Jadakiss got on it, because the contrast of what Jadakiss is with what that beat is and the hook is made it interesting.
I got it.
Right? And the topic is obviously we all like to smoke. Vanessa was popping. But I can't go as far to say that I think Young Thug is tight.
Would that go too far?
You were like, yo, he's tight. No, I can't
I
go that far. I don't know what the fuck he's talking about half the time, and I don't know
if that matters right now with some of the certain fan base that we have in hip hop these days. Like automatically, dudes can get popular off of some ruffles, a skirt, and 2 songs. That's that.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean I have to subscribe.
No, doesn't mean you have to subscribe, but does mean that maybe the internet, the majority of whatever this new fan base is or whatever's going on in hip hop, will play into it.
Guys, a spectacle in hip hop has always been something. Mm-hmm. Making a spectacle of some sort, right? Whether it was beef, whether it was crazy antics, whether it was a remarkable visual video, that always made noise. So our culture's always, and I think music in general, you know, those one-hit wonders and spectacles always mattered, right? But that doesn't mean that the fabric of our culture has to be defined by those things. And I do want to recognize you guys, because you do, I think, in the Freshmen 10, make sure that there are MCs as well as people who have, you know, a couple of hits, and that might just be spectacles, or, you know, just might be a flash in the pan. You kind of make sure the freshmen
do succeed sometimes,
Yeah,
whether
they
we
do.
like that
Absolutely.
or not. You know, whether we sit here as purists
Absolutely.
and laugh at things or not, they do exist. And so with the freshman cover, you know, we're not doing a credibility cover. You know, credibility doesn't work. You know, everybody's
But
got
there
a
are
different
guys on
idea.
there with credibility.
Yes, but
Very
it's
much.
not built completely around being a credibility
Neither
cover.
is the music we play out 97. It's built
Exactly.
on entertainment. It's built on fan
entertainment.
base
This
and response.
Who could blow up. This is who could
I
be
will
big.
say though, let's be real. We have lost touch with some of the values. Okay, while some positive things have changed about the core values of hip hop, right? Like, I love that hip hop's more accepting, less homophobic, a lot of things that are great and positive about hip hop. There are some certain old school laws of the culture that have been forgotten about that I wish would get called out. Like, we are so willing to accept things based on the fact that they're simply entertaining.
Or
and I'm not
that
saying
they
you're
look
wrong.
good when you're wearing them.
Or yeah, or,
You know what I mean? Like,
or,
it's completely fashion driven.
or just that, or because here's what's happened. A lot of us who are now becoming elder statesmen of hip hop, we end up feeling obligated to give credence to what 22-year-olds think.
Because
Truth is-
hip hop's a young person's game.
No. It
and
has
they control
been.
it.
No, we don't know that though. This is the first time hip hop's ever gotten old. We've never lived through this before. We don't know how it's going to play out. We just all say
true.
that. We just all go, it's a young man's game. I got news for you.
No, it's a young man's game because of a big advertiser sponsorship plays a role in that. And the people that control a lot of the dollars, they want the kids' attention. They don't want the old person's attention who's the hip hop purist. They want the young person's attention who's going to sell stuff.
And that's the
And then it's
political
going to
side
sell
of it.
Well,
tickets.
that's-
and it's going to sell sponsorship. That is a huge
But
part
that's
of
the side-
hip hop if the guys don't make money selling records anymore.
No, and I understand that, but I, morally, because of my feelings on hip hop, I am obligated to not give a fuck about what people who control dollars in hip hop think about it. And as a result, I am also morally obligated to not give a fuck about what a 22-year-old who's never heard that Jay-Z had an album before 2003 thinks about music. I, in time, can see you have a movement. I can see people support it. A lot of people don't have shit though. Haven't sold a record. All they've done,
But the
they haven't
barometer,
done anything.
we've said this lately, the barometer for success is so much lower than it ever was before.
Yeah.
The barometer for news is so much lower. You put out your track listing and we all have to put it up as news, you know? You get one song.
24-hour news cycle. It's the same as real news.
Right, but it's not even real news.
No, but I'm saying
it's
the
a
sa-
smaller culture.
It's the
you know,
same as
that's the
CNN
thing.
though. It's the
But
same
CNN's
as ESPN.
got world news. We have hip hop. Not everything constitutes as news, and we're making it this
No,
level
but my
of
point
news.
is it's the same thing in that you guys all have to cover bullshit.
Yeah,
Same with us on the
exactly,
radio.
exactly.
Because there's such a constant news cycle
Exactly.
and ADD and information and
But
social media.
That a lot of this is, like you said, social media driven, internet driven, and the cycle has gotten this way because blogs have to run for clicks every day.
Yeah.
So they have to troll to get
The
your
troll
attention
train.
and get clicks. But make no mistake.
I mean, we've been dumbed down to reading how many lists a day, you know, just for the clicks. That's what it's become.
But make no mistake, hip hop has always had music that was a flash in the pan.
True, but hip hop
We
has
had
always
the
had
Pee Wee Herman, we had Dolla, and at the time, that's why they call me the old man, because I lived through it. At the time, MCs were not happy. They were not happy.
Right.
It was not okay, right? Even Sugar Hill Gang at the time was a top 40 song. MCs and purists and
They didn't
hip-hop
like it.
did not like it. This has always been a part of our culture where there's mainstream stuff and there's underground stuff. There's stuff the purists really who are loud.
The internet screwed up the underground a little bit.
The
of
internet-
understanding what that is. And
Well,
what
the
it was.
internet has made things matter that wouldn't have gotten through the I'll call it the hip hop board and the music people, right? The internet has pushed things through that people who make music and know the rules in making music, fuck hip hop for a second. There's rules in making songs and making music that sounds good that the internet has pushed through because it's getting clicks or it's getting likes or whatever. So people have been forced to say, well, shit, obviously people are paying attention to this, so we need to pay attention to this. And as DJs, look, we have to do that. That's what a DJ's job is. A DJ's job is to try to break shit, but also make sure you're playing the shit that people like. That's your job. Otherwise, you're not going to get booked. But we all have a job, I think, if we're going to keep this culture intact. And I believe hip hop's in a great place, right? Just like I said, the XXL freshman cover has MCs on it, as well as people we may consider flashes in the pan. It has popular stuff. Rich Homie Quan had a big hit song, but he's on the freshman list. It has R&B on it. I like where our culture is, right? I think there are tons of MCs that are out there. Even in the 90s, when the golden era and the Tribe Called Quest and the Premier Production and all of these records that came out that are defining moments in hip-hop, those records weren't platinum selling albums when they came out. Let's be clear. Gangstar did not come out and ring the cash register, right? Tribe Called Quest sold 100-something thousand copies of Low End Theory when it first came out. Like, let's be honest with ourselves. But it is phenomenal for me to see this passion around MCing, around even graffiti, even around fashion. All of this stuff has been a part, production, all of this stuff has been a part of our culture. And yes, there are shit that we think is whack that the mainstream loves, but there's also the shit that Rosenberg and XXL try to preserve to make sure the culture has some integrity. So I think y'all are doing a good job.
I think so too, and I think the list is very strong. Who would you, if you had to pick right now, both of you, who's the first person to drop a smash record off of that? Let's go as far as saying album, because some of them already have smash records. Who's going to be the first freshman on the current cover to drop a big album that sells, that makes noise, that gets critical acclaim, the whole package?
Wait, before you do that, I don't even know who's all on the cover. Can you list the cover?
List the full cover, guys.
Oh gosh.
Kevin Gates, Vic Mensa, Chance the Rapper, Jerem Benton, John Connor, August Alsina, Troy Ave,
Dirk,
Ty Dolla $ign, Dirk,
Bibby.
Who am I forgetting?
I didn't even count what you said.
Rich Homie Quan. How many is that?
That's 11.
That's 11. Yeah.
Is that everyone?
Ty?
Yeah. That's a tie.
He said Ty. Ty. Troy.
Who
August
Troy was a
Alsina
hard
already.
one for us. We had to make sure that Troy was bigger than New York.
Yeah.
You know, that it wasn't just a
Is
New
he?
York thing.
And do you believe that he is?
I think that he's going to get there.
Yeah.
I think he's on his way there. I think that I think it was hard because, I think he'd made a lot of friends with people in the industry, so we're supportive. So everyone was like, Troy,
And he's been around like 10 years.
And he's been around, but I also think that, he's making the right moves to see where he goes next for definitely for New York, but also just for, his style. I don't think exactly anything. When you see the freestyles, when you see the ciphers, there's no one like Troy.
Yeah.
He has good beat
He is-
selection,
and
too.
he
Troy
is,
can pick records pretty well. He can craft a little chorus.
And he's
too.
on Summer
smart.
Jam. Talk about it.
And he's on
Main
Summer
stage.
Jam.
Main stage.
Well, he did that festival last year. Now he's on the stadium stage.
He's told everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, he did?
He's told everyone. The only the only independent artist to ever do Summer Jam. The only freshman is like, no, you're not the only freshman.
Yeah,
but
no.
he's very into it.
Troy,
He's a very nice-
Troy, settle down.
He's
settle
proud.
down,
And
Troy.
Bronson's on the same stage. Bronson was a freshman
Last year.
Yeah.
last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a freshman currently
Yeah.
and is on Summer Jam. True indeed. Respect, Troy. Troy's doing his thing, man.
The guy, what's the guy from New Orleans? Not New Orleans.
Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge, Kevin Gates.
Kevin
Gates.
Gates. I
Kevin
met that
Gates.
kid.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kevin
People
Gates
really like that
is a
dude.
Yeah,
character. That's a character.
He's one of
and
a kind.
half.
You know, I heard of someone who recently did a totally epic interview with him.
That's what you get, epic interview.
Oh, I forgot it was me. It was me. You should watch it. He gave some real gems in that interview. Like
He gives gems. He would during freshman, he was just dropping gems left and right that everyone was like, "Yo, Vic Mensa and Isaiah were like, I'm not deep enough for this conversation."
I know.
Like, he was just going.
He seems 30 years older than Isaiah. We didn't mention Isaiah.
Yeah.
We didn't do Zay.
You're right.
Maybe my
Isaiah.
favorite one.
Isaiah's
You're
got.
right.
Look,
I like
look
that
at the
guy.
record,
Yeah.
the history of TV.
Sylvia
right
Memo's
now.
phenomenal.
It was amazing.
I mean,
It was amazing.
Zay's amazing.
Front to back.
And look who's around him. I
Yeah.
Mean, not a slouch anywhere in the camp. you
Now-
know?
now
all of
let's-
them have been freshmen too. All 5 TDE artists.
Explain to me the little Dirk phenomenon, because I like Bibby and Lil Herb.
Staff went
I'm not-
hard for Dirk.
I'm
Staff
not.
went
I'm not
hard.
on this Dirk kid. I don't understand.
Wait till you see Dirk's freestyle. It
Yeah.
definitely is.
So it's more. He doesn't seem like he raps sometimes. He seems like he's just auto-tuning me to death sometimes.
when we get off, I'll show you the freestyle. Wait to see the freestyle. I
Yeah.
think that Dirk's got his own little movement that it's interesting because I think we connected the least with him during the shoot. We actually lost him a few times during the shoot in the building. You know, we were all like, "Where's Dirk?" So I mean, I think we probably know the least about his personality just because of the character that he is. But then when he spit for us, and then he came up, he visited. He was sweet. We listened to a lot of his music. Look at his Twitter followers. Blah blah blah. Definitely Chicago. We had to think, too many Chicago dudes. How do we weigh it out? Staff felt very,
Chicago's
very
hot.
strongly.
Yeah. Chicago's
and
hot.
we're trying to reflect what's going on in hip hop.
Chicago's
Chicago's
hot.
hot. So
And do Bibby and Dirk get along? Is that they're in a camp that is cool, right? Like Lil Herb, Bibby, Dirk. That's all.
Everybody was
There was-
cool there. I don't
yeah.
understand any of it with the Chief Keef and the Dirk and the Tiger and the game and
Yeah, I
everything
don't
that's
either.
going on. I'm not really sure in Chicago who's cool with who.
Yeah.
But everybody seemed cool. There was no tension there.
Well,
The
that's good to
Chicago
hear.
guys couldn't have been happier about all being there. Even if Vic and Chance are different than Bibby and Dirk, all four
And
really
that's
support
another
each
thing
other.
about Chicago that I find amazing and I'm very appreciative of is the different types of artists that are
Right.
coming out of Chicago.
I'm just happy you've heard about Chicago for years with
Yeah.
Twister, with Do or
Yeah,
Die, with
yeah,
Kanye, with Common, you know, with
yeah,
all of it.
LEP.
It's with Bump J when that was the big hype and he was going to be the next big thing. You know, with Bogus Boys, 2 years ago or
Yeah.
something. It's nice to see Chicago being the city that it is with the people that come from it, having its run.
Well, and what's
Getting
going
to start
on
to have its
and
run.
what's going on there for them to be able to tell their story.
I mean,
Totally.
That's-
but let's also be honest. There is a slight glorification of what is one of the biggest tragedies in America. which
Totally,
is
and it's
Chicago.
amazing that you have to have what's going on in Chicago make Chicago
What do you
hot
mean
right now.
when you say glorification?
That
You mean
music,
like
none of that music that is coming out of Chicago, and I think there's very talented kids making it. None of them are making music that's saying,
Substance.
"Please understand what we're going through. This is so messed up." Most of it's glorifying it, and videos that glorify. it.
But does that
Yeah.
exist in
I heard-
hip-hop
I haven't
too
heard
much?
it.
I heard some things from Lil Herb, which is why I like him, and I heard
Yeah.
some things from Bibby, which is another reason why I like him, that were specifically like, "This is my life.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it, but I got to do what I got to do."
I haven't heard that yet. I'm not saying I see the talent. I don't necessarily see the reflection.
I think most of them are trying to just tell their story. Like Herb, you listen to Free Crack, like he's telling his story. Bibby. And if you listen to Fazo Land, he's telling his story how he lost 17 people under the age of like 17.
It's crazy.
Like it's crazy. He's
But at the
really
same time,
telling his stuff.
and I'm playing devil's advocate. And don't get me wrong, I like Bibby. I think
Yeah.
he's really talented. This tape's still called Free Crack. let's just call it what it is. I mean, I'm yet to see this whole movement
But who's
started.
leading anybody to do anything otherwise
I'm no one
in hip hop?
But
Where that it's
but the
take
thing
it to
is-
a conscious place like that. That's
But
not
now,
what it's about.
and now I haven't listened to the whole Free Crack thing, but is it a metaphor?
probably
Because
Everything's a metaphor.
Kanye's crack music was a metaphor. It was music inspired by a generation raised on crack
But Kanye's
and around crack. But that's Kanye.
And
I'm
Kanye's
just
a
saying.
middle class college kid. I mean, it's a totally different with Kanye.
But he
it's
had
like-
reflection, though.
Yeah, it's totally ironic though. Even him using the word crack, like Kanye hasn't really even been
Well,
here.
no, because his brother. Remember, his brother was a crack.
That's true.
fiend.
His brother was a crack fiend. But Kanye himself, you knew that wasn't a world he ever purported to be a part of.
Right.
I'm not saying there's not a lot of potential and talent there. And I do think it's exciting. A lot of the beats, definitely, as a DJ, you can instantly hear these are smashes. You get why kids love them. Sometimes I feel like us, again, elder statesmen in hip-hop, have a tendency, if there's stuff we don't truly like, and maybe we... as a result of not wanting to seem old and out of touch, we jump on like, no, this is good. The same way I just bigged up Young Thug, even though it's not necessarily for me. I hear other people around me saying, it's so good, it's so hot, and you don't want to be behind the times by being like, I don't really fuck with it. So sometimes I think we've done that with Chicago a little bit when we should be pushing them to make it even better because the talent's there. The skills are there. The production's there. Their
you
own
mean- and
sound
when
is
you
But
there.
say-
they're also kids,
Yeah.
and I
But-
don't know.
but they're
I
kids,
don't
but
know
the-
who's showing them to do that.
No, they're not. That's the problem with Chicago in general, and a lot of inner cities in America is that these are kids making bad decisions.
Yeah.
What I would hope is that we got to give them time. We got to give even Chief Keef time as they get a little bit older. That we'll see more depth and growth from them because there is a lot of talent there.
I think you need cultivation. I think from some elder statesmen sometimes. I think
Well,
that
and then there's the will they even listen,
Will
which
they
is part
even
of the
listen, which is
problem in
hard in this
Chicago in the
industry,
first
too.
place because they have elder statesmen, and that's, I'm told, a part of why the violence is that way is because a lot of the cats is coming home from jail and they're beefing with the young dudes who's out here trying to get money, and those cats is coming home from jail trying to get money, trying to show cats how it's supposed to be, and they're like, yo, fuck you, get out my face, this is how we doing it now. So I mean,
But I also think that definitely what you're saying. But I think the elder statesman capacity in hip hop.
Oh,
It's
yes,
somebody
absolutely.
taking those kids under their wings and cultivating them. And showing them
So
what
here's
to
the
do
thing.
in the studio and what to say and what to
But here's
talk
the thing
about.
when Ye gravitated to Chief Keef, I'm asking this question rhetorically, but I don't know the answer. Did Ye say to Keef, all right, let me sit with you and show you a little bit how you do this?
Have you spoken to Chief Keef?
No. I was supposed to have the first interview with him ever up here, but he didn't show up. He when he pulled Chief Keef in, does he say, I want to show you how to do this, that, and the next? Or does Ye just go, yo, this is what the kids are fucking with, I'm putting it on my shit?
I don't.
I think that's what I love Ye, but that's what I think Ye did.
I think that's
Ye's like, I'm
totally what it is.
It's just like he's not
he
taking
took
the time.
he rode the
He wrote
train.
it. He wrote it. He Mr. Me Too. He stood right next to it because it's hot. And let's be honest, Ye is super popular, but he's also now super mainstream and not super in touch with 18-year-olds in Chicago anymore. So if he could stand next to Chief Keef and do I Don't Like, all of a sudden he's back in with all those kids too. He's an opportunity.
That record was tough.
Super tough. Don't get me wrong, he did it really well. And then the song with Keef on his album is super tough
crazy.
too.
I will say this though, and I know there's people watching this right now that are going to be like, oh, they're hating on the young movements, things like that.
Definitely not.
Go back and study early N.W.A. A lot of people say, well, N.W.A, Ice Cube, and those guys made gangster rap when they was 18 years old. But there was also social commentary and frustration in the music. Yes, you're 18, you're 22, you're 24, you drink, you smoke weed, you want to fuck bitches. I did it. I understand it. But you also got to be aware of what is going on around you and share those real stories and have some presence of mind to look at yourself in the mirror and know some shit is fucked up and that we celebrate dysfunction. And a part of hip hop, hip hop is street culture. And so it's based on dysfunction, right? And hip hop comes from neighborhoods where their shit is fucked up. But it is up to us to make sure that there is some sort of pushback.
But don't you also think that N.W.A, in retrospect, even though at the time when I first heard them when I was a kid, I was like, oh, this is scary, this is crazy. Looking back, you can see how theatrical it was, and you can know that while they may have had associations with people who were violent, their level of involvement, they were pretty hardcore musicians. There's an image that's trying to at least exist now with some of the young artists where that line is super blurry. You know what I'm saying? There's a difference between the kids in Chicago and Odd Future. When Odd Future came out, you went, oh my God, from a theatrical standpoint, look at the art, look at what they're creating. You could instantly tell, or maybe not instantly, but pretty quickly go, oh, I get it. These are 10 weirdo artists who are making ill shit.
But that's even the people who embraced them early on. Yeah. the street's not embracing.
I don't agree with you, Rosenberg.
Chief,
a lot. If you live in a neighborhood where you walk outside and that's what's going on your street, and that's what your friends are into, but you're not packing a pistol or you're not selling crack, but you live in a neighborhood where that's what the kind of moral fabric is up to, right? And you incorporate that into your music. That's your environment. Odd Future's suburban kids,
right?
And that's why they skate and do suburban shit in their music. I'm not saying that what Chief Keef and the images they portray in their music is okay. It's very sad, but it is their reality. It is what they're seeing going on around them. And don't get it fucked up.
That's a bigger conversation.
Yeah. Right. And don't get it fucked up. When Ice Cube and N.W.A was doing that, they were showing their neighborhood. And even when you watch Boys in the Hood, some cats had on red, some cats had on blue. Cats was sitting on the porch drinking 40s. That's what was going on. They was lifting weights in the front yard and packing pistols. Doughboy had his shit. Like, that's not that Ice Cube was necessarily living that, but that's what was around him.
Well, but I guess when I hear, like, if you go back and listen to, Gangsta Gangsta or one of these records where they're talking about literally pulling out AKs on the police, you're like, you're not doing that.
That's fantasy.
This is fantasy.
It's fantasy.
I guess the part that
until the riots happened, and then it was real.
And then at least it seemed real. But for me, it's, I guess, and maybe this part of me being older is when I see like a Keef video, for example, and I see kids love it. For me, it became hard to fully enjoy it when I also am reading simultaneously what's happening in Chicago, and then I'm seeing the guns in the video.
Well, you have to be divided, of course.
I'm too old now. Like, I'm just like, I can't really enjoy this the same way because I know it's reflective of things that are really going on in their lives.
You're not sure if it's wrong or right. And
no, I'm sure it's wrong.
You feel.
I'm sure it's all wrong. It's not their fault necessarily that it's wrong, but these things are not good. It's not a good situation right now. And yes, they're just reflecting what's happening in their life. But as an adult, when I watch it, I'm like,
but that's what you're supposed to do.
And there's a fan base in hip hop now. There's a fan base, whether it's the internet fan base, whatever. There's a fan base that is entertained by that stuff.
But that's the part I don't like.
Not looking at it, and it's not who we think it is.
No, say what you don't like. What you don't like,
I don't
is
like
the same thing we didn't like when N.W.A came out. All right, I like the music. I did not love that their primary fan base was suburban white kids. That's what you don't like.
Well, that's the young.
You don't like that Chief Keef was taken to a gun range by a pitchfork,
right?
And then they thought it was funny to have Chief Keef at a gun range
and get in trouble off
of that.
Like,
you didn't. That's what you don't like.
No, it's twofold though. There's two elements I don't like. I don't like suburban white people sitting there and being amused by something that's indicative of a real problem.
They're on the internet. Totally playing it up over there and loving that.
No, I get
and
it.
making it what it is.
That part bothers me, but then it also bothers me that there are other young black kids in other cities all over the place who see it and do think it's cool. We read a story that somehow got brushed under the rug about that Australian baseball player who got killed randomly by these kids out in the Midwest.
Yeah.
They shot him for no reason.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, I'm not blaming Chief Keef for this, but I'm just saying.
They said it was.
You go through and read his timeline, it's
Yeah.
all quotes of lyrics from this music.
Yeah.
And we cannot sit anymore and deny that hip hop has an effect on the
But
way people
who's
are.
going to do anything about that? That's the interesting conversation to me, is that I believe we revere the youth
It's
in
the
hip hop.
dialogue.
Who's
Vanessa,
going to
it's
do
the
anything or
it's-
have the dialogue
it's
or do
this-
anything?
It is this dialogue. I remember when Tupac was popping mid-90s. There was a white kid in Texas, jumped out of his car, playing Tupac really loud, guns blazing, shooting at the state police. And he blamed it on Tupac. And they blamed it on Tupac. This was at the time when C. Dolores Tucker and everyone was trying to put the parental advisory stickers on and burning the CDs. And, elder black folks was so mad at hip hop. We've seen this before, where young people gravitate to a culture that is taboo because young people like to cause trouble. That's what young people do. They like to cause trouble. It's up to the elder folks in the game, ourselves, to have the dialogue so that we can show them, look, we understand you come from this world, but the only way you're going to survive this hustle is if you start thinking bigger than this world. I'm not saying it's okay what's going on. I'm saying that it's a continued cycle.
I agree. And again, I'm not trying to pinpoint blame or tell people to not do their art. They absolutely should. I'm just saying the things that for me, as a 34-year-old who loves hip hop and loves seeing the youth doing good music finally, these are the concerns you have that pop in your head. Either way, I love that we had the conversation. The XXL Freshman cover. Yeah, when's it on newsstands?
It'll be on newsstands in New York next week, and then May 20th everywhere.
And then when are the concerts coming too?
June 9th
June
is the
9th.
New York show, and we're still figuring out the date for the LA show.
All right, so June 9th, we'll see
Yeah,
you
you
in
guys
New York.
hosting?
Yeah, I will be there.
Siphon Rosenberg.
Now we do a tradition.